Hola, bom dia, soy Nico.
Clock that T.
Clock it.
Clock that T.
Clock it.
Clock that T.
Clock it. This my
So I'm getting more into my Portuguese bag, Nico. So I've learned that in Spanish, it's buenos dias, but it's still like you pronounce the D. But in Portuguese, it's like bom dia. They pronounce their D with a j sound. So I'm slowly integrating. I'm slowly learning. But yes, today we're not here to talk about my pronunciation skills. Today we're here to talk about some hot OnlyFans girls tea. Nico, it's rare that I actually bring it over here just because I don't pay attention to what OnlyFans girls or their, adult cinematography. So let's get started. But before we get started, if you like this kind of content, make sure to follow me on patreon.com/Nicosaesthetics for more exclusive lives, weekly videos to be a part of the podcast, which is filming. I managed to still film an episode yesterday, even after my scene. Nico, other platform is getting new content as well. If you're interested in that, no push, no rush, no influence. You don't have to. But yes, let's get started. So essentially, one of the adult performers, they made a thread that was basically saying, what are y'all's daytime jobs? Personally, I feel like a thread in that context should not have been formed, just because I don't find sex work as like some secret that you have to hide, because I openly talk about it. Even before OnlyFans, I used to be a stripper. Nico, I've talked about this openly. It's one of my first YouTube videos, my experiences at the club. But moving forward, because people think I'm like Mary Poppins because I do YouTube, um, basically, this person commented, yes, aside from being an internet sleuth, I am also a judge. And then the internet does what it does, and they begin to find where he worked at. They gave the information to his bosses, to his cohorts, and he quickly got fired. And in this situation, it reminds me of Chico Black. I always get Chino and Chico, like the middle letter, confused. If it's Chino Black, I apologize. Beautiful man. Body immaculate. Booty. Woo! Nico, I like big booties. But essentially, when he tried to leave OnlyFans, when he tried to leave the adult cinematography scene, because he used to do studio scenes too, like he was a big name. Basically, hey, it's Nico. Just a quick interjection while editing. I actually just found out more about the story, and basically, he did a sit-down interview where he talked about it was one of his coworkers. Basically, they were both going up for the same position at their job, and the coworker wanted to pull the rug from underneath him because previously he had gotten opportunities before this person and sent his history to his boss. That's what got him fired, because he managed to get a corporate job that covered all his bills. And then they sprung it on his boss and sent all of his history to his boss to get him fired and force him back into the adult cinematography field. So this situation, I feel like it's a bit different for the sole fact that he publicly announced that he was in a very strict job. Chino Black, he never announced his position. He just said, I'm so glad I can finally retire. So in that situation, I'm like, that was completely unwarranted. This is still completely unwarranted, but I always tell everyone, do not put your information on the internet. I feel like we should all know less about each other, and I understand wanting to celebrate your accomplishments. And once again, sex work, in my opinion, is not something that needs to be hidden, but our society still carries a stigma along with it. And it's so interesting to see the replies of people that are saying, oh, this is what you deserve, this is what you get for announcing it. Because either way, I honestly don't think him sucking some pee, him taking back shots, detracts away from his discernment as a judge. Personally, I would not have told them my daytime job, but seeing as how YouTube and OnlyFans are my only jobs at this point, it's not really something I have to hide. But when it comes to like a high profile job like that, I do believe it's something that you have to keep on the low, because most people that do OnlyFans do it as a supplementary income. A lot of performers actually do have daytime jobs and they just do not talk about it because it's two worlds that don't necessarily need to cross. That's like me saying, okay, you're a fry cook at Bojangles on the weekend, but you work as, let's say, a substitute teacher during the week. You don't need to go to school and tell your kids, oh, well, I'm about to go flip some burgers. It's just like, it's not something that needs to come up, in my opinion. But this also raises the good question because somebody commented, y'all always talk about sex workers needing to get real jobs because y'all don't view sex work as a job, even though it has work that gets put into it, editing, shooting, it pays their bills, it usually leaves them with enough to travel if they really make it. So it's like, it's a full-time job essentially, especially because you have to keep up your physical appearance, but a lot of people don't consider it so because they aren't doing hard physical labor like breaking their backs. I mean, you know what I mean, like breaking their backs and, but yeah. So in this situation, they were like, y'all always tell sex workers they need to get out of the industry, that they need to get a real job, but you go out of your way to get them fired so that they fall back harder into the, adult industry. Because that's what happened with Chino Black and that's what happened with Gregory. So at the end of the day, it's a contradictory conversation of we want you to stop doing sex work. It's beneath you. You need to get a real job. But once they have a real job, you feel like they shouldn't be in that position if they either had a past of sex work or if they're still actively doing it on the side. Because once again, those two jobs don't necessarily cross. Unless he's going to be like casting judgment on somebody he slept with, I don't really see what that outside career interferes with, in my personal opinion. But I'm also somebody who's open-minded and part of the new world. I definitely want to hear your opinions down below. How do you feel about the situation where people consistently say sex workers need to get quote-unquote real jobs, even though their bills are being paid, they usually live very comfortably if they properly make it, and when they do get a daytime job, a 9 to 5, people get them fired so that they end up back in sex work? So I definitely want to hear your opinions on that, and especially in this situation, because this is a person who had to go to law school. He had to pass the bar. He had to work to becoming a judge. And then it just all got factory reset because he does OnlyFans on the side. Like, the media is crucifying him to the point that they're like, disgraced Judge Gregory A. Loke has been spotted in Vegas partying. And then the actual article is like, he went to an Adele concert. So it's like, you see how people actively try to villainize sex workers. And imagine that if white sex workers are getting it this bad in the mainstream, how bad it has to be for Black and brown performers. That's why when the Chino Black situation happened, I instantly believed him and I instantly felt sorry for him, because it is a swift rug pulled from underneath you for doing what you want with your body and having bodily autonomy. But once again, I want to hear your opinions down below. Boom. And now for a brief shout out to this week's 3rd tier subscribers, Lucas and DJ. Your continued support is greatly appreciated, and that goes out to all of my subscribers overall. I can't thank you enough. Thank you once again. And unfortunately, this week's live streams conversations are going to be canceled because I will be packing up and going back home, and my trip is finally coming to an end, so I'll have to make sure I have all my ducks in a line. Thank you once again.